How's it going, guys? Welcome back to day 2 of my Egypt diving trip from back in October. This episode we've got 3 more incredible dives and we see some absolutely insane wildlife, so enjoy the video. My name's Adam and welcome to Naturescope. The first 2 dives of today are in the Straits of Tiran. These are like a series of islands leading up to the one big island of Tiran, and there's reefs all around the island, so there's some amazing diving there. The first dive we did was on Jackson Reef. This dive gives you opportunities to go to around about 30 metres, and when you're stood on the boat before or after diving, you should be able to see a shipwreck fairly close. This is the wreck of the Lara, and it's a really famous landmark with the people of Sharm el-Sheikh. Jumping in, we were greeted to this absolutely huge shoal of angelfish. This site was also one of a few sites we saw on the trip that is breeding grounds for triggerfish, so you'd look around you and they would be absolutely everywhere. Sometimes you couldn't see any other fish but triggerfish. This dive quickly became all about the reef itself. The reef was in really good condition, although some of the coral was bleached, but there were fish absolutely everywhere. You'll see in the clips that are coming up, every single piece of coral has some sort of fish or animal utilising it. It was incredible to see. The small orange fish you can see on screen now and probably in every clip are called antheas. They swim along with the current, so they're a really good indicator for dive guides when they jump in, what way the current's going, which helps them then to make safer dives. As always in the Red Sea, it's worth keeping an eye out to the blue. You never know what huge fish or sharks might swim past. In this case it was these 2 jackfish that swam slowly on by. One thing you'll notice is that even the duller colour fish are still really bright. This fish looks almost grey brown at the start, and then when it swims off you start to see the spots on it. One of my favourite fish to see in Egypt are these yellow angelfish. For some reason, despite them being all blue, they are called yellow angelfish. They really seem to let you get close to them, they don't mind you swimming by them. I've had this sort of experience with every single yellow angelfish I've seen. This yellow salad coral was easily over 3.5 metres long each way. It was absolutely huge. Just as we were about to end the dive, in the far distance we could see a giant moray eel swimming away. You usually see these hidden in rocks, so to see them swimming was pretty cool. This one was probably around 2 metres long. And that was it from Jackson Reef. Like I say, this dive was all about those corals, seeing all the fish that utilise them, so it was really cool. We had a quick surface interval before our second dive of the day on Gordon Reef. Gordon Reef is on a different island but still part of the Straits of Tiran. This wreck's really famous in the local area for having a resident hammerhead that lives there. It's also just a general hotspot for other species of sharks, so it's really worth keeping your eye out for them if you end up diving here. You can see a few different dive routes on screen now. We did dive route A on this occasion. In the shallower parts of this dive you'll notice that this is probably some of the most colourful coral you'll see in Egypt. Very few pieces of coral are white and bleached. They all still have their colour and it's really cool to see. I noticed straight away that there was a much more bigger range of fish utilising the coral here. It's probably because a lot of the coral was still alive and thriving, so that attracted a wider range of fish. These butterfly fish were absolutely chill. And then there was angelfish absolutely everywhere as well. There was just a whole range of stuff that we didn't really see on other dives. These were sort of not so much unique to this dive site, but definitely lesser spotted at the other ones. I find diving with this fish very similar to the yellow angelfish we saw earlier. This is an emperor angelfish, and it must be something about the angelfish species. They must be calm or something like that, because they really don't mind you swimming alongside them. They're really chill, and they're some of the bigger fish that you'll commonly see diving in Egypt. There was a few different species of grouper on this dive, and unlike the angelfish which we've seen before, they're really not chill with you diving by them, they move straight away. You'll often see them sitting underneath or on top of a rock, like waiting for prey I'm assuming, but the second you go too close to them, they'll swim away. You may have noticed in the dive map at the start of this dive that there was a section just labelled as barrels. Now this for me is a really cool bit of the dive. There's barrels scattered absolutely everywhere towards one of the sections. Now these fell from a wreck called the Luilla in 1981. The wreck itself is pretty much gone now, it's fallen deeper and eroded over time, but some of its cargo, which were these oil barrels, are still left scattered across the reef. The piece of the wreck that isn't under the water can still be seen when you're on the dive boat, so do keep an eye out for that. The reason though that I enjoyed seeing the barrels so much is pretty simple. We often think that stuff falling into the sea, you know, rubbish and litter, is a really bad thing, and in the short term it is, especially things like oil drums. If they were full, then obviously the oil leak would have been absolutely disastrous. But it just goes to show that when you see the barrels in this video and you see how much coral is on them and how the fish are using them, that nature can bounce back and nature can adapt to having things that's not meant to be there in its environment. You can see in this barrel that a tube worm has called it home. This barrel was completely hollow straight through, so this is dug in from the sand. Tube worms are really cool, so when you go too close to them, they'll sort of suck themselves back in to protect themselves. If you were to remove these barrels now, they'd probably have a really negative effect on the environment. There's so many little cracks and crevices in these barrels, and now they're completely cleaned out, that it's safe for juvenile fish or just smaller fish in general to use them. So they've almost become an essential part of this ecosystem, which is really cool, and just again shows how nature can adapt. As we started heading to the shallower waters, we saw our first nudibranch of the trip. Nudibranchs are basically really small sea slugs that can come in multiple different colours. They're really interesting but really hard to spot, so definitely keep an eye out. Another nudibranch, this one nowhere near as colourful. There's thousands of different colours, so you'll never know which one you might just get to see. We spent the last sort of 10 to 15 minutes of the dive in the really shallower parts of the reef, just seeing what we could find, like this fish digging for some food. We also saw a lionfish lurking under a rock, waiting for its prey to come along. We didn't see too many lionfish on this trip, so it was really cool that we did get to see one here. And that was it from Gordon Reef. This was a really cool dive site with plenty of variety of fish and coral to see. This time we had a longer surface interval as these two dives were fairly deep and for quite a long time, and on the way back to harbour we did one last dive at Ras Gamilla. Ras Gamilla is a really simple drift dive. You get in at one point and the boat picks you up at another. There's not much opportunity here to go to below 20 metres. Really this one's about the coral, there's some huge fan corals on show, and as always keep an eye out to the blue, you never know what you might see. I didn't film too much on this dive. I already realised quite quickly that it was a lot of what we'd already seen today, so I kept it really short because we've already seen so much coral. The coral on this dive though was exceptional. There were some huge pieces of fan coral as well as some smaller pieces scattered throughout. In the distance of this clip you can see a masked pufferfish swimming on by. If you look really closely in the sand of this clip, you'll see the outline of a fish. This is a crocodile fish and it probably has one of the best pieces of camouflage in the whole of the animal kingdom. I'll zoom in on it now so you can see it if you can't already, but it really blends in well with the rocks and surrounding coral. There was plenty of these blue Fusilier fish around. These are often seen in the blue in absolutely huge shoals or near the surface like you can see here. And that was it from Ras Gamilla. I'd say that was a pretty good day's diving. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave us a like, it really helps us out. Comment down below, have you been scuba diving in Egypt? What was the coolest thing you saw there? Let me know in the comments section, and subscribe to Naturescope to not miss a future video. We've got plenty more coming through this year and next year. Cheers again, bye bye.